You've been a burden for 18 years. The words echo in my mind as I sit in my apartment, staring at the threatening message from my parents on my phone screen. 8 years have passed since that birthday dinner, yet those words still cut through me like shards of glass. My engagement ring catches the morning light, and I think about how James proposed just 2 days ago, how happy I was for exactly 48 hours before this message arrived. Asterisk, we want $70,000. We'll sue for half of everything if you don't comply. Asterisk, my hands are trembling as I set the phone down. Outside my window, Minneapolis looks exactly the same as it did when I was 18, but everything else has changed. I've changed. Let me tell you how I got here. My name is Grace, and until my 18th birthday, I believed I lived in a normal family. Not warm, not particularly affectionate, but normal. My parents, Lisa and Robert, lived their lives in careful routines. Mom worked as an accountant, spending her evenings hunched over spreadsheets, the clicking of her calculator creating a steady rhythm in our quiet house. Dad was always on the phone, his sales voice booming through the walls as he chased deals and quotas. I told myself that their distance was just their way. Some families hugged and said, "I love you," before bed. Others showed love through packed lunches and help with homework. I clung to this belief because the alternative was too terrifying to consider. The morning of my 18th birthday started like any other. Mom was already at the kitchen table, coffee in one hand, phone in the other, reviewing some clients' financial documents. Dad was getting ready for work, his tie slightly askew as he practiced his pitch for a big meeting. "Grace, honey, we need to talk to you after dinner," Mom said without looking up from her papers. Her tone was different somehow, more serious than usual. A chill ran down my spine, though I couldn't explain why. I spent the whole day with a strange knot in my stomach. At school, my friends sang "Happy Birthday" at lunch, but their voices seemed to come from very far away. I kept thinking about Mom's tone, about the way Dad had avoided eye contact that morning. Asterisk, something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. Asterisk, that evening, we sat around our kitchen table with takeout pizza, my birthday dinner of choice. The boxes sat between us like cardboard barriers. Mom had barely touched her slice, and Dad kept checking his phone, that familiar crease between his eyebrows deeper than usual. "So, Grace," Dad finally spoke, setting his phone down with deliberate care. "Your mother and I have been planning something for a while now, and since you're 18 today, it's time we told you." I perked up, hope fluttering in my chest. Maybe they had planned something special after all. College preparations, perhaps, or even a surprise they'd been hiding. Looking back, I realize I was still that hopeful child, believing in parents who had never existed. "We're selling the house," Mom stated flatly. "Your father and I are moving to Europe. We're going to start our own business there." The words hung in the air like smoke. I blinked, processing, waiting for more information. "Oh, okay. When are we leaving?" "I mean, I'll need to figure out college applications and no, Grace," Mom cut me off, her voice sharp as a blade. "We're moving. You're not coming with us." The room suddenly felt very small and very cold. "What do you mean?" My voice came out small, childlike. "I don't understand." Dad leaned back in his chair, his expression the same one he wore during difficult sales calls. "You're 18 now. An adult. It's time for you to take care of yourself." Asterisk, the world tilted. This couldn't be happening. Parents didn't just abandon their children on their 18th birthday. Asterisk, but what about college? "I'm supposed to start in a few months. We've been talking about it." "That's your responsibility now," Mom said, standing up to clear the plates. Her movements were brisk, efficient, like she was tidying up after a business meeting. "To be honest, Grace, you've been a burden all these years. We fed you, clothed you, supported you for 18 years. That's more than enough." A burden, the word hit me like a physical blow. All those years of walking on eggshells, of trying to be the perfect daughter, of telling myself that their distance was just their way. I had been a burden. "You can stay here until we sell the house," Dad added, his tone suggesting this was some kind of generous offer. "But the sooner you figure out your own situation, the better it will be for everyone." I sat frozen as they discussed property values and moving logistics over my head. 18 years of memories suddenly shifted, like looking at a familiar photograph from a different angle. Every quiet dinner, every missed school play, every brief "good job" instead of a hug. They weren't signs of restraint or different parenting styles. They were signs that my parents had been counting down the days until they could get rid of me. I understood now why Dad had always seemed more comfortable talking to his clients than to me, why Mom's face lit up when she talked about her work but remained neutral when I shared my day. I had been a business transaction that they'd finally closed. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. My hands were trembling as I dialed Grandma Eleanor's number. She picked up on the second ring, her warm voice already making me feel a little less lost. "Gracie? Is everything okay, sweetheart? You never call this early." I could barely get the words out, but somehow I managed to tell her everything. The birthday dinner, their announcement, Mom calling me a burden. With each detail, I heard Grandma's breathing getting heavier on the other end of the line. "Those absolute," she muttered something under her breath I'd never heard her say before. Then, in a stronger voice, "Pack your bags, Gracie. You're coming to live with me. Right now." Relief flooded through me like warm water. Someone wanted me. I grabbed my largest suitcase from the attic and started throwing in everything I could think of. Clothes, photos, my laptop, the few pieces of jewelry I owned. My hands were shaking so badly I could barely zip the suitcase closed. Downstairs, Mom and Dad were still talking about property values, their voices clinical and detached. They barely looked up when I dragged my suitcase past them and out the door. No. Goodbye. No questions about where I was going. Nothing. This was how 18 years ended. Not with a bang, but with the sound of wheels on pavement. Grandma was waiting on her front porch when I pulled into her driveway. She wrapped me in one of her bear hugs, the kind of hug I'd always wished I'd get from Mom. Her arms felt like safety, like home. Over cups of her famous hot chocolate with extra marshmallows, just like when I was little, Grandma laid out her plan. "First things first, you're going to college," she declared, her tone leaving no room for argument. "I've got savings, and they're going to good use sending my grandbaby to school." "Grandma, I can't take your money." "You're not taking anything. I'm giving it." She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. "And there's something else you should know. I'm changing my will." I looked up, surprised. Grandma's expression was fierce. "This house, my savings, everything's going to you, Gracie. Not a single penny to your mother." Her eyes held a pain I'd never seen before, as if she was remembering her own disappointments with my mother. "This house isn't much, but it's paid for. The savings aren't millions, but they're enough. It'll all be yours." Later that evening, as we sat in her small but immaculate living room, Grandma brought up one more point. "We need to agree on something, Gracie," she said carefully. "I think it's best if we keep the details of all this between ourselves. No need to air dirty laundry to the rest of the family." I nodded, understanding immediately. "I don't want to talk about it anyway." "Good," Grandma said, patting my hand. "Let them think what they want. We know the truth, and that's what matters." What I didn't know then was that this decision to stay silent would cost me dearly later. College life fell into a comfortable routine. Each morning, I'd wake up to the smell of Grandma's coffee and the sound of her humming in the kitchen. It was everything I'd never had at home: warmth, consistency, love. We'd have breakfast together before I headed to my classes, and in the evenings, I'd tell her about my day while she worked on her crossword puzzles. She remembered every professor's name, every exam I was worried about, every small victory. Occasionally, relatives would drop by to visit Grandma. During one such visit, Aunt Sarah mentioned casually, "Oh, did you hear? Lisa and Robert finally made it to Europe. Opened some kind of business there, I hear." I just nodded and excused myself to study. Asterisk, I didn't want to know more. The wound was still too fresh. Asterisk, what was harder to handle were the comments about my independence. They came regularly, wrapped in admiration that made me want to scream. "You're such a strong young woman, Grace," Uncle Mike said during one visit. "Taking charge of your life, moving out on your own. Very mature of you. It's admirable how you decided to make your own way," Cousin Rachel chimed in. Not everyone your age would choose independence over living with their parents. Each time I'd force a smile and change the subject, they had no idea I hadn't chosen anything. It didn't take long to figure out the story my parents had spun. Their driven, independent daughter, so eager to strike out on her own that she'd moved out right after high school. Asterisk, it was easier to let everyone believe it. The truth hurt too much to share. Asterisk, then came the worst day of my life. Grandma had been feeling tired for weeks, but we both brushed it off as just age catching up with her. I should have pushed harder, asked more questions, demanded she see a doctor sooner. By the time we realized it was more than that, it was too late. The doctor said words like aggressive and advanced stage, and before I knew it, I was holding her hand in a hospital room, watching her slip away. "You're the best thing that ever happened to me, Gracie," she whispered one night, her voice weak but her eyes clear. "Don't you ever forget that." She died 3 months later, a year before I was set to graduate. The funeral was small but well attended by family. Everyone came except my parents. Aunt Sarah told me they'd been informed but said they couldn't make it back from Europe on such short notice. Asterisk, I wasn't surprised. I was hurt, but not surprised. Asterisk, I graduated with honors the following year, clutching my diploma and fighting back tears because the one person I wanted to see me walk across that stage wasn't there. But Grandma had prepared me for everything, even her absence. Thanks to her generosity, I had options. I used some of the inheritance to buy a lovely apartment closer to downtown, where I'd landed a job at Preston and Associates investment firm. I decided to keep her house and rent it out. I couldn't bear to sell it, but I also couldn't face living there without her. Life has a funny way of surprising you when you least expect it. That's how I met James. He walked into the wrong conference room at Preston and Associates, looking for a client meeting that had been moved. Instead, he found me preparing for a presentation, surrounded by scattered papers and empty coffee cups. "Either this isn't the Thompson meeting, or they've really changed their marketing strategy," he joked, gesturing at my chaos. I couldn't help but laugh. "Next door, but hey, at least you found someone who appreciates a good coffee addiction." Something about his smile made me feel lighter than I had in months. One coffee date led to another, and before I knew it, we were spending every free moment together. James was different from anyone I'd ever met. Warm, genuine, and incredibly patient. He had grown up in a house where "I love you" was said every day, where family dinners were loud and chaotic and wonderful. When I finally told him about my parents one night, he just held me and listened. Not trying to fix anything or offer empty platitudes. "You didn't deserve that," was all he said, wiping away my tears. "Not any of it." For the first time, I felt truly seen. A year and a half after that wrong turn into my conference room, James took me to dinner at the restaurant where we'd had our first date. He seemed nervous all evening, fidgeting with his napkin and checking his pocket every few minutes. When dessert arrived, I found a ring nestled next to my chocolate souffle. A stunning diamond that caught the candlelight and scattered it across our table. "I want to build a family with you," he said, his voice shaking slightly. "A real one, filled with all the love you should have had all along." I said yes, through happy tears, and for the first time in years, I felt truly, completely whole. The next day, I posted a photo on social media. My hand with the ring, James hugging me from behind. Said yes, to forever with my best friend. I wrote, my heart so full of joy I thought it might burst. I should have known the happiness couldn't last. 2 days later, the message appeared in my inbox. My mother's name popped up, and my stomach lurched. Dearest Grace, * your father and I just saw your wonderful news. We are so incredibly happy for you, ***. We know we have no right to ask this, but we've spent years regretting how we treated you. Not a day goes by that we don't think about our terrible mistakes, ***. We'd love to come to your engagement party to try to make amends. We understand if you say no, but we miss you so much, * love, Mom and Dad. I stared at the message until the words blurred. * They missed me? They regretted their mistakes, * when James came home, I showed it to him, my hands trembling. What do you think? I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. James read the message twice, his arm around my shoulders. I think it's entirely your decision, but if they've genuinely changed, if they're truly sorry, maybe they deserve a chance to prove it. I thought about Grandma, about what she would say. She'd probably tell me to be careful, but follow my heart, okay? I whispered, more to myself than to James. One chance. I wrote back a short message. The party is next Saturday at 7 o'clock. You can come at 6 o'clock to talk first. My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I got ready that Saturday evening. James squeezed my shoulder and kissed my cheek before heading out to pick up the catering, leaving me alone to face my parents. At exactly 6 p.m., the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find them standing there. Mom in an expensive-looking dress, Dad in a crisp suit. They looked exactly the same, yet somehow like strangers. Grace, darling. Mom stepped forward for an awkward hug. I stood stiffly, letting her embrace me but not returning it. You look wonderful. And what a lovely apartment. * They had aged, I realized. There were lines around Dad's eyes that hadn't been there before, and Mom's hands showed the wear of manual labor. * We moved to the living room, where they perched uncomfortably on the edge of my sofa. Dad commented on the decor, Mom asked about my job. Both of them acting like we were distant acquaintances at a cocktail party rather than family. Then Dad cleared his throat, his pleasant expression dropping away like a mask. Grace, let's cut to the chase. We know about your situation. My situation? I felt my stomach clench. Yes, Mom leaned forward, her eyes sharp. We know about Grandma's inheritance. The house, the savings, all of it. And we've done our research. What research? The warmth drained from the room. The house is worth at least $300,000 in today's market, she stated like she was giving a business presentation. And knowing Mom, there must be significant savings too. Plus, we see you're doing very well. Nice apartment, wealthy fiancé. Get to the point, I said, my voice trembling. We want $70,000, Dad announced flatly. It's less than we're entitled to, really, but we're being reasonable. I stared at them, speechless, and Mom pulled out a small notebook. I've calculated everything. As Mom's daughter, I have a right to inherit. If you don't give us the money, we'll sue for half of everything. The house, the accounts, all of it. You can't be serious, I whispered. Oh, we are, Dad's voice hardened. And if you don't cooperate, we'll make sure everyone knows how you manipulated your grandmother. How you turned her against us, convinced her to cut out her own daughter. * The room spun. This wasn't about reconciliation. This was about money, *. It doesn't matter what really happened, Mom cut in. What matters is what people will believe. Do you want all your relatives to know how you schemed to get your grandmother's money? Want your new in-laws to hear about it? The doorbell rang again. Early guests arriving. I stood up, feeling dizzy. I need time to think about this. Think fast, Dad stood, straightening his tie. We want an answer soon. They walked out just as James's parents walked in, all smiles and congratulations. I plastered on a fake smile and tried to focus on greeting guests, but my mind was spinning. As the apartment filled with cheerful voices and laughter, I felt like I was watching everything from underwater. The morning after the engagement party, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at my phone. James had gone to work, but not before holding me close and whispering, "Whatever you decide, I'm with you." My hands were steady this time as I dialed their number. Mom picked up on the first ring. "Have you made your decision?" "No hello, no pleasantries." "Yes," I took a deep breath. "I'm not giving you any money. Grandma made her choice, and I'm honoring it." "You'll regret this," she hissed and hung up. They didn't waste any time that evening. My phone started buzzing with notifications. My parents had posted a lengthy message on social media, complete with sad-faced emojis and carefully filtered photos of them looking distressed. "Our hearts are breaking," the post read. After losing everything in Europe, our home, our business, all our savings, we turned to our only daughter for help. But Grace, who is living in luxury with her wealthy fiancé, refused to help her own parents. We are now homeless, moving between relatives' homes, not knowing where we'll sleep next week. How did we raise such a heartless child? Within hours, the post had been shared throughout our entire extended family. My phone exploded with messages. Grace, how could you? Your own parents, they raised you for 18 years. You have plenty of money now. Why can't you help them? Aunt Martha called me, sobbing. They need a place to stay, Grace. That house of your grandmother's is just sitting there with renters in it. Your own parents should be living there. Uncle Peter's message was particularly harsh. Your grandmother would be ashamed of you. Your parents sacrificed everything for you. I wanted to scream, to tell them all the truth, but my throat felt closed up every time I tried to respond. Then came the wedding cancellations. I'm sorry, Grace, but I can't celebrate while your parents are suffering, Cousin Rachel texted. What kind of person starts a marriage by turning their back on family? Wrote another relative. The final blow came from Uncle Mike, who'd always been kind to me at family gatherings. His message was brief and professional. Grace, as a lawyer, I feel obligated to inform you that I will be representing your parents in their lawsuit against you regarding your grandmother's estate. The law is clear about children's rights to inheritance, and your grandmother's will can be contested. Expect official documentation soon. I recommend you reconsider your position before this gets messy. You don't want to start your married life with a legal battle. Uncle Mike. I sat in my darkened apartment, reading and rereading the messages, watching as my entire extended family turned against me. The irony was almost funny. They were finally seeing me as the terrible person my parents had always thought I was, but for all the wrong reasons. James found me there when he got home, still scrolling through the endless stream of accusations and disappointment. He took one look at my face and pulled me into his arms. I have to tell them, I whispered into his chest. I have to tell them the truth. He held me tighter. Then we'll tell them together. I sat at my computer, fingers hovering over the keyboard. Taking a deep breath, I began to type, to my family and friends, I've stayed quiet for 8 years about what really happened between my parents and me. I let everyone believe their version of events because the truth was too painful to share. But now I have no choice. On my 18th birthday, my parents sat me down and told me they were selling our house and moving to Europe. They informed me I wouldn't be coming with them. You've been a burden for 18 years, my mother said. That's more than enough. They refused to help with college, refused to support me in any way. I was given until the house sold to figure out my own situation. I didn't choose independence, as they claimed. I was abandoned. Grandma Eleanor took me in that very night. She gave me a home, paid for my education, and showed me what unconditional love really means. Now my parents are back, demanding $70,000 and threatening to sue me for half of Grandma's inheritance. They're threatening to destroy my reputation if I don't comply, but Grandma, being the wise woman she was, saw this coming. My hands were shaking as I uploaded the video file beneath my post. Grandma's face filled the screen, looking tired but determined, sitting in her hospital room. Her lawyer, Mr. Thompson, was visible in the background. Lisa, Grandma began, addressing my mother directly, if you're watching this, it means you're trying to take what I left to Grace. I knew you would. You're my daughter, and I love you, but your greed has poisoned your heart. I, Eleanor Marie Sullivan, being of sound mind and clear judgment, am recording this message in the presence of my attorney. I want to state explicitly why I've chosen to leave everything to my granddaughter Grace. 8 years ago, you and Robert threw your own child away like she meant nothing. You refused to help with her education, refused to give her any support. You called her a burden. Your own daughter, who I watched you bring into this world. Grace never told anyone what you did. She kept your secret, even when relatives praised you for raising such an independent daughter. She protected your reputation while you abandoned her. I'm leaving my house, my savings, and everything I own to Grace. Not because she manipulated me, as I'm sure you'll claim, but because she showed more character in her pain than you've shown in your entire lives. This is my final decision, made with full mental capacity and witnessed by my lawyer. Grace is my sole heir. That's all I have to say. The video ended with Grandma's lawyer confirming the date and circumstances of the recording. I added a final line to my post. I've kept this video private for years, respecting Grandma's wishes to avoid family drama. But now that my parents are threatening legal action and spreading lies, I have no choice but to share the truth. I'm sorry you all had to find out this way, with trembling fingers, I clicked post. The responses started flooding in within minutes. The first call came from Uncle Mike. Grace, his voice cracked. My God, I'm so sorry. I'm withdrawing from the case immediately. What they did to you. Aunt Sarah called next, sobbing. That birthday dinner. I remember bringing you a gift the next week, but your parents said you'd moved out. They seemed so proud of your independence. How could they? The family group chat exploded with messages of shock, support, and apologies. Cousin Rachel, who'd cancelled her RSVP just days ago, wrote a long message. I feel horrible about judging you without knowing the truth. Your parents painted such a different picture. Please tell me it's not too late to attend the wedding. I want to be there to support you. One by one, all the wedding cancellations were reversed. Relatives who'd condemned me just days before now reached out with heartfelt apologies and offers of support. Even distant family members I barely knew sent messages expressing their shock and sympathy. Your place card will be waiting, I told each one. No hard feelings. Through the grapevine, I heard snippets about my parents. They'd moved in with some old friends from their college days, picking up temporary work here and there. Mom was doing bookkeeping for small businesses, Dad taking whatever sales jobs he could find. Their grand European dreams had apparently crumbled long ago. Part of me expected to feel guilty about exposing them, about sharing Grandma's video. But sitting in my apartment the night before my wedding, looking at the photo of Grandma on my mantle, I felt only peace. You were right, Grandma, I whispered to her picture. The truth did set me free. James found me there, wrapped his arms around me from behind. Any regrets? He asked softly. I thought about the scared 18-year-old girl I'd been, packing her bags in silence, about the grandmother who'd saved me with her love and foresight, about the woman I'd become, stronger, wiser, but no longer carrying the weight of other people's lies. Not a single one, I replied, and I meant it. Tomorrow I'll walk down the aisle, surrounded by family who know the real me, both the pain I've survived and the strength it gave me. My parents won't be there, but the empty seats won't matter. I have everything I need: love, truth, and finally, beautifully, peace. Some people might say I'm heartless for cutting my parents out of my life, for not helping them in their time of need. But I've learned that real family isn't about obligation or guilt. It's about love, support, and truth. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is simply let go.